Hello, everybody. I'm Catherine Miller, and I want to welcome you and congratulate you for taking this time to tune in and learn how to keep your brain healthy. So, today in this video, I'm going to reveal the number one enemy of brain health and the best strategy for defeating it. So, you can stop worrying, basically. Stop worrying about losing your mind and your memory and feel confident in your brain again. So first, I want to show you something. Look what happened here. I sent an email out almost a week ago and said, hey, anybody who's interested in brain health and would like to have some support around it, to please say count me in. And so these are just a few screenshots from emails I got. They just came rolling in, and they've been rolling in for days. I even had to turn off this my email so I could do this presentation and not be distracted. But then I got a lot of response, too many to list here really, but brain health is very important to me. It's been my number one focus. You know, my parents had dementia. Brain health is a concern. And then from Dr. Susan Sklar, I talked to her on the phone a few days ago, and she said, hey, want to join forces on this topic? And as some of you who were on the Menopause is a Trip Summit know, she did a talk on brain health for my Menopause is a Trip Summit. So, you know, this is just showing that this is a real pain. There's real risks associated with these kinds of issues that we'll be speaking about. Getting out of pain and lowering the risk is what this next hour is all about. So I also want to, before I go further, I want to say there are way more responses here than I can personally respond to. And in fact, if I haven't gotten back to you, I'll apologize right now. I'm trying to get back to as many people as possible. This presentation won't be available, forever. So if you get to the end and you know this is for you and you don't take action and then you come back, it's gone, don't be mad. I just wanted to warn you in advance. It's not going to be around forever. And I want to be able to give as much quality of attention to all of you as I can. So let's see. So basically, this is for you, just so you can self-identify here. No, this training's for you. If your brain is showing signs of aging, you're not willing to accept its decline. Hormone changes from perimenopause have transformed your or trashed, let's say, your mind and your memory, and you're wondering if you're ever going to get it back. You may feel doomed to the same fate as your parents and grandparents with dementia or Alzheimer's. I had a lot of people write in and say that. And you want to do everything you can to prevent and heal cognitive decline so you can be smart, active, aware, and happy till the end of your days. So I want you to know, if you're here and you're listening to me now because you are suffering from memory lapses, brain fog, or having a hard time thinking clearly, focusing, or dealing with complexity, if you feel like you're going crazy with mood swings, having anxiety or depression, or suffering from things like chemo brain, or maybe you have family members, like I said, with dementia or Alzheimer's, and you want to take precautions. So if any of these things are true for you, then the information I'm about to share will help you understand the source of these problems and why it's possible to prevent or reverse them. And I will also be sharing the strategy I used with myself and that I use with my clients, so we could be sharp, focused, clear-headed, and able to communicate without those embarrassing brain farts and memory glitches. So why am I doing this training? Because you spoke up and I heard you. I put out this survey and I got this mind-blowing number of women saying brain issues are the top concern. Now, this was the first time I put that question in the survey. I hadn't quite ever just put brain issues as a separate category. And so I've actually gotten more response to this issue than the fear and pain around cognitive decline than any other issue I've ever talked about. And to me, that's just amazing. I've been talking about women's health for a long time. And so you all shouted out and you said, count me in. So now I'm here responding to that, doing this video. And I got a few questions that I wanted to cover a little bit. But Cheryl asked me, don't men get memory issues? And Yes, they do. But the studies show that women are much more prone to cognitive decline. And that's because of the way we handle stress and because of the hormonal stuff. So Donna asks, is brain disease a natural part of aging? And what I'd like you all to do right now is just think about, I'm sure you all know somebody in their 80s that doesn't have any cognitive problems. And the trouble is we think, oh, that's just a fluke. They must have good genes. They must have this. Let's not think that way anymore. Let's from this point onward think, no, that's how it could be, and that's how it should be, and that's what I'm aiming for. So there is no reason why there has to be cognitive decline as we age. Um, so Patty asked me, am I doomed by my genes? And new science is showing how you live, okay? How you live is more important than the genes you inherit. And I'll be talking about that more later. And then finally, Rhonda asked me, what about the effects of menopause? And I just wanted to say to all of you out there that got this menopause brain thinking, it's a real thing. The hormone changes throw a spanner in the works. It's causing all kinds of issues with brain, memory and brain fog. Sometimes it's estrogen, sometimes progesterone, and there's depression and anxiety. And one thing you need to know, let's keep it simple, is it is fixable. Okay? So the other reason, frankly, because you asked for simpler, safer, more sustainable solutions. Many of you shared with me that you depend on prescription meds and put up with some awful side effects and would love a simpler and safer approach that can actually heal these issues. I'm not against medicine, or they have their place, and sometimes they're absolutely needed, but also often there are better approaches. And I had to show you this. This is my favorite response to the surveys I sent out. I don't know who wrote it because it was all anonymous, but I'll read it out to you. I want to lead a full, active, engaged life, free to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, without being held back by physical and mental limitations until I drop dead from having fun. And me, that's like become my motto now. I should probably get that tattooed somewhere. So 3 big things you're going to learn today is, first, the biggest brain myth and what's actually true. And second, how you may be unwittingly undermining your own brain health. Okay, so there's things that you can be doing that are causing you to have memory lapses and cognitive issues. Not on purpose, of course. It's just because you don't realize that these things are having that effect. And I also want you to know why it's important you start now to protect your brain 20 years from now. So you're also going to learn how to keep your brain performing optimally, even in the midst of stressful life circumstances, aging, perimenopause, menopause, so you can stop worrying about whether or not your brain's going to work today or in the future. So the number one enemy of brain health. There are so many things that can hurt your brain. But in my talks with doctors and health practitioners, we all agree that the number one enemy to our brain health is chronic stress. As you know, stress is epidemic. You've probably heard this. You probably know it in your own self. And it turns out that the main stress hormone, cortisol, is a brain killer. When you are constantly stressed day after day and your brain is being flooded with this hormone, cortisol, it has a negative effect on the actual structure of your brain and the connectivity between all the brain cells. And over time, this can cause memory issues, mood disorders, and learning difficulties. So stress is at the root of it. It's at the very, if you're looking for the root of something, this is the root. And just recently, as I said, I was talking to Dr. Susan Sklar on the phone, and she said to me, oh yeah, the stress hormone cortisol shrinks your brain, especially the hippocampus where memory function resides. So for all of you, listen closely, this is a direct connection to those memory issues that you're having. So if you'd like, I'm going to share with you how to relieve chronic stress and manage those cortisol levels so you don't have to live with these pains and you can start to experience clear, focused thinking, a reliable memory, and freedom from anxiety and worry about the future. So this is me when I was 6 years old. You're probably wondering how I got to be in this whole business of telling people how to fix their brains. One of the things that most people don't know about me is that growing up, I suffered from extreme anxiety, fear, panic attacks, and terrible migraines. And I never really told anybody about this because I thought my family would think I was crazy. And back then, being labeled crazy or mental was definitely not a good thing. And I know in this picture, it's my little sister that looks kind of demonic. And my little brothers look pretty innocent. But I had a really hard time with these issues right through childhood, through adulthood. And actually, I had such brain fog that my friends called me Cloud Nine. And my mom thought I was doing drugs way before I ever tried them. So I had a terrible immune system as well, sick with colds several times a year, chronic diarrhea, bladder infections. I mean, the list just goes on and on. And I suffered these things into adulthood, like I said. And then this big turning point came for me. And that's when I came to realize that not all brain issues originate in the brain. Okay, this is an important writer downer for you. Not all brain issues originate in the brain. So for me, I found out what that meant is that from birth, I had a terrible yeast infection. It was from the time I was born. Okay, from the moment I entered the world. And this created a situation in me called leaky gut, which then rippled all the way out to the problems I was having in my brain. So this is our first kind of geek out moment, and it's about the gut-brain connection. And it's important. The reason I'm having these moments in this training is because in order for us to understand the issues that we're challenged with, we need to understand a little bit more about how our body works. We don't have to be scientists, microbiologists, or anything like that. We just need to understand that everything's connected. So when digestion has been compromised by these bad yeast like I had, or bacteria, antibiotic use, processed foods like sugar and artificial chemicals, preservatives, it creates an imbalance in your gut ecosystem. And this creates a lot of chronic stress and inflammation in your body, which can lead to this situation called leaky gut, or actually lots of other situations too. But we're focusing on this one. The protective barriers in the gut get compromised, and that makes it possible for toxins, which would normally pass right through the gut and be excreted, to get into the bloodstream, and then from there to enter the brain. And studies are showing that when you have a leaky gut, the proteins in common foods like wheat and eggs and peanuts, all these things that people sometimes have sensitivity to, they cross the gut barrier, enter the bloodstream, and they cause anything from allergic reactions to brain fog to mental issues like depression and schizophrenia. So this is a big deal. Gut issues can also make hormonal balance worse, and this is why in perimenopause, my issues got way better. For years, I didn't have any problem with these things, and then in perimenopause, my shitty brain problems came back, and that's because I hadn't actually completely healed my gut yet. Of course, this whole journey that I'm describing to you, it unfolded over many years because I was learning by trial and error. There was hardly any information or research about any of this at the time. In some ways, I guess I'm lucky because I had these challenges and I was determined to heal them. So over time, I discovered these natural approaches that got rid of the episodes of anxiety and fear, the brain fog, all of it. And I can honestly say they're now a thing of the past. So I've taken all those strategies and put them together in a system that anyone can do to start getting a better brain in just a few weeks. And this is a system I'm going to be sharing with you today. So this what you see on the screen now is what I learned on how to get from a shitty brain to a brilliant brain. And it's what I call my desire system. It's the exact system that I've been using to get results for me in my private and group coaching programs. And this is the first time I'm actually sharing this in this way. So basically, it all starts with the daily detox protocol. And these are gentle ways of keeping these toxins that hurt the brain out of your body, being excreted safely. It's also includes this step around superfoods and really making sure that the foods you're eating are supporting the brain and not hurting it, and also essential oils, which can sometimes be an incredible shortcut to immediate results. Supplementing to nourish your brain, using inspiration and innovation to grow your brain. And yes, you can grow your brain and build new neurons. Protocols for restoring your brain. And then, of course, exercise to support the brain. And the thing that's good to understand here is it's just usually not just one thing that's causing the problems. It's usually a combination of things, and therefore there's a combination of strategies that's needed to address them. So this system is called the desire system because it's fueled by desire. So many of us so many of you wrote in, and so many women have told me over the years that their main reason for wanting a healthy, active, working brain is so that they can continue to enjoy life with the people they love, doing the things they love. And it's not only pain that motivates us to seek help, it's also this desire to enjoy our lives, which motivates us to make changes. So the best way to tell you how this works is to show you how it works, is to tell you about Debbie. So Debbie was a client of mine, and when she came to me, she was super stressed. There had been a death in the family. She was struggling under all of her family business and community responsibilities. She's completely overwhelmed. And by the way, this is what I call acts of God. There's things you can't control. There's death, there's other people, there's other responsibilities calling on you. So as a result, she was very anxious and overwhelmed, and she found it really hard to keep up mentally with all that she had to do, which of course meant that then she was staying up late every night trying to finish things up. So of course, then it was hard to sleep because she couldn't turn her brain up. She couldn't turn her brain off. It's what I call busy brain, which is also one of the symptoms of perimenopause. So, then this whole vicious cycle would start again because she would get up early the next day, already brain fatigued, and start all over again. And this was somebody, she could not afford to have memory lapses in her business, and she would definitely lose her clients. So we needed to turn this around fast. We focused on the daily detox, essential oils, supplement, restore parts of the desire protocol. And within weeks, she noticed she was calmer, more focused, sharper. Plus, as an added bonus, she was sleeping better and losing weight. But there was this big test coming up because right in the middle of the busiest season they had ever had, she was put in charge of a huge conference. It was the middle of summer, heat blasting. And she came to me and said, okay, this is it. I'm going to see how resilient I have actually become. How well is this going to work for me? And to her surprise, and in spite of literally everyone in the office like running around like chickens with their heads cut off, being completely rattled and maxed out by everything that was coming at them, she found that she was calm and confident, and she was able to keep everyone else on track. Her colleagues also totally amazed because to them, here we are in the middle of a heat wave. It's the busiest we've ever been. And plus we've got this success of this conference riding on us. And the intensity and pressure was through the roof. But not only did Debbie come through with flying colors, she attributed this to the work she did to make her brain and her body more resilient in the previous 2 months using the desire system. So this is an important lesson here because it shows that even these acts of God type of stress, these things that you don't have control over, like death, work deadlines, family, even the weather, they can be handled without creating a burden on your brain when you build up your body's resilience. People ask me all the time, why am I so calm even when things go wrong? And believe me, it's not because I don't experience stress. It's really because I follow this system and to make myself strong and build a brain that's flexible enough to handle the stress that I don't have control over. So you'll notice in the next couple of examples that the daily detox part of the protocol is the first thing I do with my clients because of the tremendous results it gives. So this is a geek out moment, another one. Let me take a sip of water. Okay, so one reason the daily detox is so effective is because the brain is very sensitive to toxins. The way it works is through something called the way the brain cleans itself actually is through something called the lymphatic system. And this is a new, pretty new discovery. During the day, as we use our brains, we produce waste products. At night, when we're asleep, the lymphatic system kicks in. It's like the lymphatic system, but it's just kind of a lymphatic system for the brain. And in the night, it kicks in and it cleans up the neurotoxic waste products that have accumulated in the central nervous system. When the lymphatic system doesn't have time to get its work done, these toxins build up in the brain and they set us up for much worse problems down the road. So things like not getting good quality sleep also increases cortisol levels. And as I said, too much cortisol makes it hard for the brain to function properly. So that's, this is a lose-lose situation here. When you're over 40, you're stressed out, you're going through hormonal changes, it isn't as simple as just getting to bed earlier. That's why you need a multi-pronged approach to detoxing and restoring the brain. And that includes all the different levels of the detox protocol. The desire protocol. So as I said, there's different types of stress. There's these acts of God, these things that are happening around you that you don't have any control over. But there's also the kinds of stress that we cause to ourselves by, not taking care of ourselves as well as we should. So I want to tell you a little bit about Carolyn and what happened for her. Because she came to me not for like a quote health reason. She came to me for a mental reason. She came because she was full of anxiety. She was having fear and panic attacks, memory lapses. It was becoming difficult for her to work, let alone do anything else. And she loved her work. She had just also started on prescription meds, which she didn't like because of the side effects. And she'd been down that route a few years before and was determined not to go there again. So we got her started on the Desire Protocol with support from special essential oils. And the results were amazing. Her anxiety began to ebb in the very first week and became steadily less. In just a few weeks, she didn't need the meds anymore. And of course, she worked with her doctor on that as well. By the end of the program, not only was her anxiety cured, but her brain and body were functioning 100% better. She had also lost over 20 pounds. On top of her 2 jobs, she had even enough brain space, enough focus and attention span to start taking meditation classes and making new plans for her future. So it's amazing. This is me on a roller coaster, by the way, and this is all about roller coaster brain. Your brain is an energy hog. It's only 1/50th of your total body weight, but it consumes 1/5 or 20% of your energy intake. It needs energy and it takes in energy in the form of glucose. So when you don't eat balanced meals or the right types of foods, that's really important, throughout the day, your blood sugar levels go up and down like a roller coaster. You're either starving or flooding your brain with glucose. Fluctuations in blood sugar affect the blood vessels in the brain, which can lead to cognitive dysfunction and extreme brain fog. So hyperglycemia or high blood sugar on one hand has been linked to an increased risk of Alzheimer's. Hypoglycemia or low blood sugar increases cortisol levels, and that can increase anxiety, of course, which over time can lead to depression and can increase the risk of dementia. So just because you're eating, quote, well, doesn't mean you're eating right, or at least not the right way to prevent brain issues. So if you're experiencing these issues, there definitely something's not right there. So you see that Carolyn was creating a lot of stress in her life by unknowingly putting her brain through this blood sugar roller coaster. And unlike acts of God, which you have no control over, this kind of stress you can avoid once you know what to do. So the other cool thing about Caroline that I wanted to point out is that she was in her early 70s at that point, at a time when many women are tempted to believe they have to take meds for the rest of their life and put up with all the adverse effects. She wasn't having it. She had 2 jobs which she loved and wanted to work until she didn't want to anymore, and then be free to follow her passions. And she just didn't like being limited by this emotional state or by a cognitive decline. But one of the questions I get a lot is this what I have to live with from now on? And I absolutely, that's a no. And I think Carolyn's story teaches us that that answer is a definitive no. So Laura's story, this is the last story I'm going to be showing you, but they're all highlighting different aspects of this brain health. So Laura came to me as a successful entrepreneur. She was running 2 small businesses. She had a grown-up son, and then she also had a young son. And she was going through menopause, and she was grieving a death in the family. And she felt so lethargic and dull, like she couldn't think straight or figure out solutions to daily challenges she had to deal with. And she was also constipated, which has a huge effect on your toxic load and how your brain ultimately functions. So we began with just the daily detox part of the Desire protocol. And after just 2 short weeks, she came to me, and actually she was confused and a little suspicious. And I'll tell you why, because her brain fog had lifted. She said her depression was gone, but the weird thing was, and she said this, she hadn't even realized she was depressed until she felt happy again. Isn't that wild? So the funny part of the story here was the suspicion. The thing is, she just couldn't believe how radically different she felt in such a short time. And I think she was wondering if I did some kind of voodoo on her or something. But from then on, she just got better and better. As an entrepreneur, she started to have this energy and brain power that she had been lacking up to then. She started to make these important creative business and family decisions that she had been putting on the back burner and that had been holding her and her business back. So you may have noticed from these 3 examples I've given you that all 3 of these women are incredibly busy with work and family. And yet they were able to find the time to use the Desire protocol to make changes, adopt new habits, and get incredible results. The other thing about what happened for these women, and it's across the board for all of them, and this happens with everyone that I work with, is you start to enjoy using your brain. Now, when's the last time that happened for you, right? This kind of thing just doesn't, when you're struggling with your brain, when you're feeling these challenges and they're dragging you down, you forget what it's like to actually use your brain in a creative way. Like, have a brain you can depend on that responds, that can learn things, that can remember things. And for me, the big change came, I could really see the difference in me is when I started this new online business, and I had to learn so many new things. And I remember sitting down one day and just determined I'm going to figure this out. And afterwards, I felt this freedom. I literally was like, my brain works. It can learn new things. And here I am in my mid-50s, and I'm learning like all this new technology and all these new ways of doing things that used to just literally make me cry. I would be literally in the embryo position on the floor crying because I just felt like such a strain on my brain. So this is something that you have to look forward to when you start to take these issues on, is uh, a brain that's fun. It's fun to be smart, okay? And I want you to really know that that is possible, even if it feels super far away right now. So you can close the gap. This is how you go from what I call shitty brain, which is just a brain that's not working for you, and to the kind of brilliant brain where you have the concentration, the focus, the clarity, the confidence, stamina. Brain stamina is so important. Calm. When your brain is irritated, when you're worried because you can't quite get it together, you are not calm. Okay, and also this sense of joy, of vitality, peace of mind, all of those things are really, really ways the definition of what I call a brilliant brain. And brilliant isn't just about being smart. Brilliant's about having clarity. Brilliant is kind of like brings to mind light and focus. And so that's why I call it a brilliant brain. Now, there's some very important concepts here that I want to share with you, because there's a lot of relatively new research. I'd say in the last 15 years especially, there's been new light shed on how our brains work. And there's these two wonderful words, epigenetics and neuroplasticity. And epigenetics, I know some of you out there finding it hard to focus, but I don't want you to be intimidated by these words, because these words are showing you the way to better brain health, okay? So epigenetics is simply the science of how our internal and external environment affects the expression of our genes. So it's all the things we do in our lives, all the things we're exposed to, and all the things we do ourselves, our lifestyle, and all these things have a huge effect on how our genes express themselves or not, okay? Now, neuroplasticity refers to the brain's ability to change throughout life. And I get so many emails from women who have a history of either depression or Alzheimer's or dementia in their families, and they're understandably worried that their genetics have made it inevitable that they will suffer the same fate. And I feel that because my own grandfather had a terrible case of dementia, even though he was completely mobile and healthy in every other way. I had one grandmother who died of a brain tumor. And both my mom and my grandfather on my dad's side had brain issues stemming from MS. So I get what it's like to know that you have people on both sides of your family who have had these issues, and you start to feel glitchy and like your brain isn't holding up. So one thing that you need to know is there is a lot of old information out there. And here's the big myth that we need to dispel once and for all. The brain is not, as was previously thought, this is what I was taught growing up, is you get all your brain cells by the time you're adult. You start killing them through drinking or, rough sports or, getting concussions and things like that. That's it, they're gone. And they're just finding it's not true. Your brain is not a machine. It's not hardwired like a computer. It actually has the amazing ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections between brain cells. And those allow the neurons and nerve cells in the brain to compensate for things like injury. I've had a concussion. I know what that's like to recover from that. And not only to compensate for injury, but also disease, to adjust. Those brain cells will adjust their activities in response to new situations or to changes in their environment. Okay, so changes in their environment is the brain being flooded with stress hormones? or not. So your day-to-day behaviors can have measurable effects on brain structure and function. This has been proven through scientific research, through tests, through clinical trials. So that myth that the brain can't change, it can't heal, is debunked. Okay, so you need to get that one, you need to turn that one around. So the science of epigenetics and neuroplasticity is showing that your environment and lifestyle is way more important than the genes you inherit. Okay, making targeted lifestyle changes can change the way your brain works. And this is why it's really important to start now, because they say it takes 20 to 30 years, to create the brain issues that show up later in life. What I've been sharing with you creates immediate results. So you can start thinking clearer, having more focus, better memory, better moods, more brain energy, more power and stamina in your brain. Plus, you're building up this resilience. And that's really the most important part, because taking action now and building up this resilience can prevent you from having more problems 20 years from now. So even if you're listening, you don't have any really big serious problems, you've been noticing some things happening, this is where it's really important for you to start making an investment in your brain health 20 years from now. Start making these targeted lifestyle changes so that you can, it's like an insurance policy, really. It's just doing the right things so that you don't have to go through some of the stuff you see older people going through. Okay, so just want to be very encouraging here with this epigenetics and neuroplasticity. So you're probably wondering, where do you go from here? And I've given you a really high-level view of the system I use to radically improve my own brain health and that of my clients. And as you can probably see by now, the brain and the body health are connected. So the results affect everything about you. And in terms of what's next, you have a couple options in front of you. If you want this exact system to help you in your own life to achieve excellent brain health, you can take away what I've just shown you, go ahead and implement it on your own, which you can actually do using the information here. I've literally shown you the high level of this and how it works. You can go in pieces together, and I'm sure you can eventually do this by following the training I've just given you. Or if you're like the women I described that successfully healed their brain issues and you want to avoid a lot of that trial and error that they went through and I had to go through, and you want to get the maximum results in the minimum time, you can apply for a free consultation with me, where we can discuss the possibility of getting the help you need and achieving the results you desire much, much quicker. And that's with personal coaching support. You get that much quicker with it than without it. I'm currently taking on a small number of new clients right now to help you apply this highly successful integrative approach to your own life. No one person is the same. I only work with people I can genuinely help, and the only way to know that is by speaking with you to find out what your needs are. Even though the desire system is, been laid out, the way I apply it to each person is very different. Once you apply for your free call by clicking the button below, by the way, there's a little magic button below you can click, then you can schedule your appointment, and then we can get on the phone and take a look at where your health is currently, what your goals are, and really make a step-by-step plan on how to get the health you desire by applying my desire system. Now, on this call, you'll get total clarity and direction, so you can actually reach your goals much, much quicker. If this sounds good to you, then you should just go ahead right now and schedule a call. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you tried and failed in other ways, or if you're a total beginner, or whether you've already started to put some of these steps in place or have done nothing so far. All you really need is a desire to change, and then I can help you get there. I've coached hundreds of women, and that combined with the fact that I practice what I preach, I learn from my own experience, it allows me to have a very high success rate. There are not many doctors and just a few coaches that take this integrated approach because it takes such a high degree of personal support and input. And most people's in therapies, they focus on one piece of the picture and therefore they get limited results. So apply below. There's no obligation. I will only extend an offer to work with me at the end of a call if I know we're a fit to work together. And at the end of the day, it has to make sense for both of us. I'm extremely passionate, in case you didn't notice already, about freeing women up from the burden of ill health and from brain limitations. And I pride myself on helping my clients get happy and healthy in mind and body. So if you're ready to get some real results, click on the link below and pick a time that works for you. These time slots are limited, so act quickly so you can speak with me if you want help. My aim is for you to start feeling the results within the first few weeks of working together. And if you have a foundation of good habits already, you can move super quickly. And if you're starting from zero, my system will get you feeling better in a very short time. So what I want to do is get on the phone with you one-on-one, walk you through the process, find out exactly where you want to go, and tell you the exact best way to get there using my system. So I'm offering this call completely free, knowing that you'll get incredible results when you have the right support. So let's see if we're a fit. And finally, take a moment to congratulate yourself for taking this time to be proactive and learn how to get the brain power and the life you desire. I hope that this has helped you. I sincerely do. And I look forward to speaking with you.